All right, hello, welcome everybody. How are we doing today? Very good. Everyone looks so beautiful and colorful. Beautiful. Well, hello, good evening. My name is Semi, and I am your resident goddaughter. And on behalf of Godmothers, welcome to our living room. All right. Our conversation partner this evening is Riley Reed, a major pillar here at Godmothers. She's been on this Godmothers journey from the start and has been a powerful light to its path. Riley is a writer, photographer, host, and the head of live and digital storytelling here at Godmothers. Her work spans visual, editorial, and live mediums, crafting immersive narratives that center genuine, organic connection. It's my pleasure to introduce our featured author, Kathy Wang, a graduate of UC Berkeley and Harvard Business School. Kathy lives in the Bay Area and writes with sharp insight and quiet humor about ambition, family, and reinvention. Kathy is the author of Family Trust, Imposter Syndrome, and her newest release, The Satisfaction Café, which was named Best Book of the Summer by People and Oprah Daily. Satisfaction Café is a breakout literary success for Kathy Wang. Backed by glowing critical praise, major summer book lists, and a strong presence in literary and independent bookseller circles, the novel's blend of emotional clarity, satirical wit, and cultural nuance has firmly established Wang as a voice to watch. Join me in welcoming Kathy Wang and Riley Reed.
Hello, how's it going? Nice to see all of you this evening. Thank you for being here. We're trying something a little new. You're our first guest to experience this. I hope you like it. It's sort of like an initiation that we wrote just to open the room because these are often such special, tender, sacred conversations. We kind of wanted to set the tone. So it says, "We call upon our godmothers, those chosen and found, the ones who walked before us, the ones who whispered to us when we were young, the ones who scattered the sparks now rising in us. May this be a portal, not a platform. May our words hold resonance, not performance. May our presence be an act of honoring. We declare this time sacred. Only truth, only light may move through us. To those present now and those drawn to this later, what stirs here was seated in you long ago. You are not observing, you are awakening. And so it is."
Beautiful.
Thank you. I give props to Jennifer. She was a big part of that. So let's start by talking about what compelled you to write this book. You have a story that you've shared before that's really powerful. Maybe you can share that now.
Thank you. And thanks so much for having me here. This is such an honor, and the space is so beautiful. I just can't stop looking at it, so thank you. It's amazing. So I had written a speech out, and then that I was going to use at book events, and then last week I was in Nashville with the author Ann Patchett, and then her and I had started talking about how I actually wrote this book and some of like the details around its actual publication. So I actually went back to my hotel, wrote out a whole other speech about like how the publishing industry almost works for it. And I was only going to say it in Nashville because it's kind of almost embarrassing at times. But then afterwards, Anne was like, you should say that everywhere. So I'm going to at least do a portion of it here, but definitely please interrupt me anytime you have questions, and or if I'm like going in a boring direction or something. I don't have a problem with it.
If I interrupt you, it would just be because I'm obnoxious.
All right, yeah, no. Thank you. So I want to tell you a little bit about how I wrote this book. But to tell that story, I actually want to share a little bit about my writing career and also the business of being an author. So I wrote my first book, which was Family Trust, in 2017. And your first book, or your first novel, is typically called your debut. And in contrast with other industries where what you earn actually usually rises over time as you have more experience, most of the time, your first book, your debut, is going to be the largest deal you ever get as an author. This is because publishers actually they like it that you have no sales track. They can kind of imagine you as like the next big thing, and you're essentially all potential to them. Right, so in 2017, I write my book. I find an agent through the slush pile, and then that agent, who's still my agent today, takes it out on submission to publishers. there ends up being an auction, and we sell to HarperCollins. It actually, it receives like a brief mention in the New York Times that year for like one of the larger debut deals of the season. And my deal with Harper is actually a 2-book deal, which means that they agree to pay me a certain amount for each of the 2 books that I write for them. Those 2 books are Family Trust and then Imposter Syndrome, which come out in 2018 and 2021. So that's like the good, happy part of the story.
Happy because the
Happy.
books were published.
Well, yeah, and it's like, you got a good deal and you're feeling good about yourself.
Were you happy with the books themselves?
I was happy with the books. I mean, we can go into a little bit more about like later how that kind of impacts things, but yeah,
Okay.
I was happy at the time. So the next part, which I'm going to say, is the part which I'm not ever supposed to say out loud, because for many reasons, but which is that my books did not sell to expectations. And I think that, you're not supposed to say that out loud because people associate that in a way with failure, which of course it is in a way. And, I want to say that it's just Americans, but honestly, I think it's everyone in the world, including myself, who is allergic to failure. It's like saying that you didn't get the job that you wanted, or, the school that you applied for, like someone that you liked doesn't like you back.
But you went to Harvard. Come on.
Or a lot of schools I didn't get into. But thank you. Well, okay, so I was sending people for this. And so, well, anyways, on the book front, I think it's easy on the book front, I think, especially if you're not in an industry to fake it too, right? And I work in Silicon Valley actually full time in Silicon Valley. So much of it is just faking it till you make it as well. And it's the same on the book side. And I think, there are by certain regards, it still did well. Like it was a Costco pick and a book of the month and et cetera, et cetera. However, to be frank, there were such high expectations set because of the size of my deal. And quite frankly, it didn't meet those. And, that's just part of my story. And I think one that a lot of authors understandably don't talk about because, it's not the greatest thing to say. So after that, I talked to my agent because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to, am I going to be allowed to write another book again? Because I'm no longer under contract. And, what am I going to do? Am I going to have to write something like vampire, erotica or something? And I don't want to, I'm not trying to, that is an excellent genre. And if my agent thought that I could sell that or write a good one, she would 100% be write that, girl. Because there's nothing agents like more than making huge deals. But she knows I would humiliate myself, and it wouldn't be good. So instead, she was like, you got to write something that you like to write. But then she added, she was like, it has to be really good because you are starting with a disadvantage now. You have a sales track, and it's not great. So it actually has to be better than your first 2. So I kind of freak out, and then I, go home, and I'm I think about what it is that I want to write, and then I think at the same time, and this is kind of goes into the inspiration for the book, I was going through a personal meltdown, which I think I'm probably still going through a little bit, which is I think it's all those basic questions, right? Am I happy? Is this it? Am I okay with the compromises that I have made in my life, of which, there are many. And I realized that, I thought about if I should quit my job and, a few other items. And in the end, I decided that I wanted to keep my job because I didn't want the pressure of having to make a living as an author, and that way I could just write about whatever I wanted to write about. And I thought a lot about, I think I've been obsessed lately, and that went into this book about connection and how much waste there is sometimes in the world, because I think everyone wants to connect in some way, and so often we don't do it because we don't want to be humiliated, or we don't want to risk being embarrassed, or being vulnerable. And how much I wish that we could kind of open ourselves up to that. So I try to put all of my feelings about that and connection and love into the book. I wrote a manuscript. It took me about 18 months. I sent it to my agent. My agent, calls me after she reads it, or actually she emails me and says, okay, let's set up a call. And I look up forward to that call all week, because unless you're one of your agent's like top people, you're always hoping for attention from your agent. Like, you're like, please, like, like, when is my kid? So I get on the call with her and she says, hey, I think this book is good. And I feel so relieved. But then she says, what do you think about going out under a pseudonym? So,
burn.
and I say, it takes a second for it to land, and I'm like, okay, why a pseudonym? Why a fake name? And she explains it in a way that's kind of like telling someone who's like online dating, you're like, maybe you shouldn't put your picture up right away. Like, it'd be better if like the other person gets to know your personality. And then once they like get to know you, then you can show them what you look like. So I think about it, and then I'm like, look, I don't have an ego about this, so let's just do it.
Wait, but what did that feel like?
I mean, I think because I work in like tech and like the Valley, like I'm very aware of like commercial element of things, right? And so I'm almost like hypersensitive to it. Like, I knew that it was a problem. Like, we had talked about it earlier with my agent, so I knew that it was just going to be an issue. And she was like, this is a very more literary book, and I don't have like the credentials. Like, I didn't get an MFA and those types of things. So I just knew that there was going to be like some problems with it. So I kind of accepted it. But and my agent had done one other author that she had done a pseudonym for, and it was Riley Sager. Do you know? Okay, he's like a really big thriller author. So she was like, I only did it for him. So it's like, I'm going to do it for you.
You're special.
Yeah, you're special. You get a pseudonym too. And so I kind of was like, yeah, I think it's okay. You got to take their advice. But I did ask her, I was like, what if it doesn't work? Right? And she was like, yeah, that's going to be a problem for you. Because like, then we would have tried everything. Right? So, so we go out with the book under a pseudonym, and it's funny because almost immediately the pseudonym thing doesn't work anyways, because my agent, neither of us understand metadata. And then like,
don't you work in tech?
Yeah, but like, I don't understand what it works. And so like I work in self-driving cars.
Okay,
so, like,
very different.
And so someone like figures out that it came from like Kathy Wang's Word account. And like at that point, I think there was already like a decent amount of editor interest, and then like half of them drop out. And like, I feel, I think it hurts your feelings, but then you're also like, I feel like I think I just turned 40, or I was turning 40, and I was like, I think that I am the accumulation of like everything that I've done that's positive and negative, right? Whether or not I think it's negative or not, like, I think I have to accept and carry that with me. So it happens. But at the end of the day, the book actually still went back to auction, and it ended up selling to a imprint that I'm so kind of happy to be with, which is Scribner. And then now we're here today, and like, I feel just so fortunate to be here with you. Like, I think the one thing that I've realized is whenever something like that works out okay, like some of the time it's merit, but every single time you have to have luck. And so I'm just feel so fortunate and grateful, and also for the opportunity to share with you a little bit about the book today. So thank you for letting me monologue.
Sorry for the interruptions.
So
So did that process inform your editing experience at all? Because you sent in the initial manuscript, and then you went through all of these wild, hoops to get to, the official publishing stage. Between the initial manuscript, that first draft, and the publishing, did the experience around the pseudonym and then bring your name back and all of the kind of like, just probably, I imagine, some torment, did that affect the book? Because I feel like I can hear some of that story in Joan's story.
Oh, interesting. I felt, because the name thing fell away, like I actually never thought that I would, like it didn't really even dawn on me that I might actually end up being published with a different name. And I think had that happened, I think it would have been something that I had trouble with, right? Because like, it's like a different name, it's not your name, right? And then, but my editor almost immediately was like, we're gonna go out under your name. And so I think I let that go. And my editor is very approachable, very responsible, very kind. And so I almost felt like I got to just start over with her. It was great, yeah.
And how do you feel about the book now being out in the world under your name?
I feel happy. I feel like I'm glad that it worked out. And I've thought about telling that anecdote because I was like, I almost feel, because I've said this anecdote in other book events, right? And people were like, oh, thank you for sharing that. It's like a failure and it's brave. But I'm like, is it really brave? Because it has a happy ending, right? So like, I think it's really bravest to be like, I'm still in it. And, so I feel happy, but it also, sharing that story, like I examine, like, am I like a fraud for sharing it, because it ends in a happy way. So
I think sharing it makes you less fraudulent.
We'll see.
You're revealing what really happened.
Thanks, thank you.
So there's this interesting tension in the book between longing and belonging that I felt like I experienced the whole time. Like the main character, she has a lot of longing, and I think what she ultimately longs for is what she creates. And I wonder, as you talked about kind of some of your crises, if there's a parallel there.
Yeah, I think that there is. I mean, I feel like at least for me, I guess my whole life, but because it's more recent, I feel like I'm lonely a lot, and I have like 2 kids, they're 8 and 10. I'm married, I work, and yet there's so often still where like I feel that I just feel a little bit lonely, or that I wish I could connect somewhere more. And it's so crazy to me because I have this phone where I can just like message everyone, and I have these apps where I can see what everyone is up to, and I can just be mindlessly entertained, and yet I just feel sometimes like a little bit empty. And so
I think keyword there is mindless.
Mindless, maybe,
Yeah.
it's not fulfilling.
Yeah.
And so I think I wanted to kind of put all those feelings into the book, and then see how someone who was a more practical kind of personality, who is Joan, like might try to solve it. So.
Was this always her answer, the Satisfaction Café?
Yeah, I always wanted to write a book about a third space like that. Yeah. And
Welcome.
Yes. So we were talking a little upstairs, and I was like, I don't understand why like billionaires always do the same things. Like they buy sports teams and they like build, they purchase yachts and they get married in Italy. And I was like, why don't they build like great third spaces? Because it's like such a great, I mean, it's such a way to give back. It's like a wonderful place.
Yeah.
And then people will feel better about billionaires too. It's like a win-win.
Yeah.
Right? But why doesn't it happen more? So yeah, I wanted to, and so I was like, this is one of the few, like, I mean, this is an amazing space.
It's pretty cool that like this,
amazing.
we're talking about this book, and it's kind of, this
Yes.
is kind of an iteration of the book, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's something that's in the Satisfaction Cafe that I thought was kind of funny. I marked it. Okay. It says on the wall, how to start a conversation with an exclamation point. Ask questions, dash, about them, exclamation point. If they look troubled, ask what is bothering them, exclamation point. Everyone is interesting, dash. You just have to discover what it is, exclamation point. And how about their, in italics, parents, question mark. Which I thought was interesting because like this is toward the end of the book, and I feel like all those things are through lines in the various connections that you explore.
Yeah, absolutely. Just for some context, I think that is like a kind of an employee sign in the Satisfaction Cafe, because like there's hosts that work there and they're employed to kind of have engaging conversation with like the customers, and so that's like guidance to them for how they're, how they might want to engage. And yeah, I think that people love to talk, right? And I feel like sometimes just feeling heard is just about being able to talk. So I wanted to put that in there, and I love hearing about people's parents.
Why?
I don't, because everyone is like a product of their parents, right? So when I meet someone, I always want to talk about their parents. It's like so much about, it's so fascinating. I want to hear about your relationship with your mom and your relationship with your dad, and generally people want to talk about it too.
Yeah.
So.
The immigrant experience that you explored in the Satisfaction Cafe, was this at all familiar to you, or were you creating an arc that you maybe wanted to reimagine? So
Joan is around my mom's age in the book, and so it follows Joan as she kind of, it's like her life's arc, and she comes over when she's 25, and then it ends, like decades later. In terms of the immigrant experience, I think I just wanted to do an accurate experience for her, and I think what I really if I'm going to be honest here and frank, what I also wanted to do was like write a book that my mom herself would read. So like, you know, because sometimes, to be honest, no, she doesn't read any of my books. She doesn't read but someone,
She
doesn't read any of my books. She's a very Asian parent, but like,
she's like, you went to Harvard. Why'd
she
you read a
doesn't,
book?"
100%, yes, it sounds like you've been on the phone with my mom. So, so it's like, you know, she doesn't read any of the books. But, you know, my mom wants to read like a good book. And so I think sometimes if I'm like, Mom, I have a great book for you, and it's about like racial trauma. She's like, I'm not reading, you know, like she wants to read about someone like herself, but just that's like living life. That makes sense.
Yeah,
and
it does.
And so that's what I wanted to do here. That
makes sense. We were talking upstairs. I thought it was interesting how Joan used silence as kind of like a weapon, or she would use like other people's prejudice against them. Like she said specifically at some point when people were staring at her because her child didn't look like her child looked white. And if they stared at her or questioned her, she would say, I know talk English. Even though she spoke English really well. She went to Stanford, really well educated. But she wanted to almost like harness their inner thoughts and use them against them. Like, don't talk to me, I can't talk to you. You know, even though I speak perfectly fine. Why did you create that dynamic?
I think that I'm probably like a misanthrope in certain ways. And so it's just convenient to have like, to be like, I think that it's funny. When I wrote the character, like I don't know if I meant it in terms of like her turning like a prejudice back on the other party. And maybe it's like unconscious for me, but again, like for my mom, you know, I think she encountered like a lot of racist situations, you know, in her life, because she's, you know, lived in the US for many years at this point, but she doesn't really care. Or maybe she cares, but she's kind of like, yeah, that happened. But that other person, like maybe they just don't know, or they're having a bad day. And like, we just come from different places. So, and it's so funny because I think when I was growing up, I was like, someone was mean to me about how my lunch smelled. And now I'm going to write like a whole novella about it because about my feelings, you know? And I not that that's not valid, but you know, someone of my mom's generation is kind of like, she's just like, hey, like someone said something awful to me, and maybe they're an awful person, but she just doesn't get so upset about it, if that makes sense. Like, she's just like, this is life. And nor does she think that person is automatically a bad person, which I always thought was fascinating. She's just like, it's just sometimes like people are taught a certain way, or they're like having a horrible day. And I just always was like that. That kind of grace is something that I just always admired, I guess. And I wanted to put
and
in.
Almost like innocence.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's like,
It's interesting because I see that in the earlier years of Joan's character, and I see more of you in her later years, because she does become like that. She writes letters to the school and, you know, to protect the children.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, I really read this book.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. Thank you for reading.
Okay, well, we were also talking about how people struggle with this book because there's a fair amount of cheating, and it can be, you know, activating for a lot of people. Why did you choose to portray men in sometimes shadowed light?
Like a cheater, you mean?
Sure, let's just say it. Shadowed light.
I mean,
cheater. Yeah.
I was saying, like, I don't know how I'm supposed to write. I can write a happy marriage for 300 pages, but I mean, that's pretty. I don't know. Like, I mean, a book has to have conflict, and
but why that conflict? You could have picked.
I just think it's an easy one, and like, I mean, I also just, I mean, I don't condone cheating, but I understand, you know, I do. And like, I wanted to, I was saying to Riley that like, I think a lot of times readers can't tolerate cheating at all. Or if you have a cheater in the novel, like they need to die at the end. Like like in order for you not to get 1 star on Goodreads, like that is what needs to happen to them. And I get it, because it's a terrible thing to do, but I think people are very complex, and people have thoughts. People do things, and I mean, every relationship is so different. And it's funny because my husband and I, both of our parents were divorced. Like, and you know, both of them had messy divorces. And so when we got married, we were like, we are never going to get divorced. It's so bad for the kids. Like, we're never going to do it. You know, look what happened to us. We've been married now for 15 years, I want to say. And now we're like, oh, we get why people get divorced. Like, you know, because you're like, I have one life, and you know, like this is gonna be how I spend it, you know, and like, and you know, yeah, like maybe my kid is gonna take an English class and write a whole, you know, like I don't know, autofiction novel about it, but like I still like I'm the primary person in my life. Like I need to be happy, and so I just mean you just understand, like you're just more understanding about all different situations. I think, like as you get older. I think.
Yeah. So it seems like you kind of wrote this from an empathetic point of view. Like you empathize with the main male characters.
You empathize. I think you empathize with everyone, right? Because
well,
otherwise,
not necessarily. Some writers don't. I don't.
That's right.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right. You're right.
Thanks.
I think to write something thoughtful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
It was thoughtful. I feel like every character, the other thing we were going to talk about was this kind of point of view that the way you approached point of view in the book. Like we follow this main character, Joan, for a lot of it, but you also really go into the experiences of her children, and they kind of become focal in the second half of the book. Why?
I actually really wanted to read. So I grew up, my parents like didn't have a lot of books. But once a year, my dad would want to like practice English. So he would bring back a book by like Ann Tyler or John Irving or John Updike. And those were all very kind of omniscient in a way. Like they were like one voice. And so I wanted to do that for this book in a way. Like I describe it sometimes as an Asian American world according to Garp, where you kind of, you have a central character, but you flit in and out of other people's heads. And I just think it makes for a more seamless reading experience at times. My first two books were third person, but every chapter was a different character, which I like. And it's kind of easier that way because like you get, it's like instant, like it keeps the reader's attention generally because there'll be a new character and a new character. But I sometimes think that can interrupt the flow because people are like, oh, like what happened? You know, I don't want to go to this person. So with this, I really wanted that kind of smooth experience.
What was the writing process like for you beyond the pseudonym situation when you actually were writing the book during those 18 months? What did your schedule look like? You have a full-time job, you have children, you have a marriage you love. So how was it?
So I wake up very early when I'm doing that. I wake up around 5 and then I write. So, and I'm very structured, like I'm what's called like they call it like a button seat writer, where you have to you just have to sit there and do it. So I will wake up at 5 and write 1,000 words every day. And like they can be bad, I don't care. But I just need to check it off my box that I did that. And then I'll keep going and then I'll take it down, like I'll revise it down and then I'll re-revise it up.
Would you say that requires discipline?
I think probably. I mean, you know, like I wrote my first books when my kids were really young.
You're one of those people. What's discipline?
Automatic. My child, I was giving birth when I got the offer for my first book, like I think with the agent offer for it. So like I always had like very young children. I think at that stage you have to be like psycho about your time.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how I started doing it. And like
just kind of embedded.
Yeah.
And then when you went through the editing process, because it sounds like a lot of the words you wrote were just to get words down on the paper. Yeah. What was that like? Was it also kind of mechanical?
Yeah, so a book like this, typically like a 400-page book is typically 100,000 words. And like lately, I think publishers actually prefer shorter because we all have short attention spans, right? And actually, like I'm sure you've all picked up a book and you're like, oh, it's 200 pages, awesome, because I can like finish it. So now I think they would typically want 80 to 90,000 words. So what I'll do is I'll write up to like 120, 130,000 words, and then I'll cut it down. And then I'll go through it and build it back up, like the parts that I think need more, and then I'll cut it back down again. And I'll do that over and over until I think it's like distilled down to something that I could send my agent.
I noticed, kind of paralleling that, the Satisfaction Café, like that part of the book isn't super long. It's like full and distilled, but it's not long. And I wonder if a lot of the book is explaining why the Satisfaction Café is necessary. Was that on purpose?
Yes, 100%. So this was always my title, and I have never been able to keep my original title. Like they change it all the time. Like usually you'll write a book, you'll have a title, and then your agent will want to change it. And then they sell it, and then your editor will want to change it. So I actually fought really hard for it, and they were like literally like, you're gonna get eviscerated on Goodreads because the Satisfaction Café doesn't come in until the back third. And like, but to me, it was always like the concept of the Satisfaction Café, which is like it's a concept of wanting to find connection, and it's like, like it's that concept of sometimes wanting just to escape in your head into a place that might exist and dream of it. So I always, I fought very hard for the title to keep it.
Yeah, I noticed that there was a lot of foreshadowing, and there was a lot of dreaming and chatter about a parallel life or an imaginary life and what it would be like to live that life. Have you ever had a dream like that, or right now, is there an imaginary life that you wish you could be living?
I think that for me, as you get older, you are more and more aware that this is like your one go, and that you are making compromises and trade-offs at every point. Like, at least for me, like, I am more and more aware that, like, there are so many different directions that you could take, and like they're not like the ones that you take, it's like not like, it's hard to optimize, right? And I think you can go crazy trying to optimize it and thinking about it, but at the same time, you don't always just want to cut it off, right? Like, I think it's like a balance between feeling like you've chosen your life and that you've made decisions that are best for you in your life, and also just accepting that this is where your life has been and come. And so I think it's that balance of it here, and I think that was very much what was on my mind when writing the book.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a few kind of rapid fire-ish. It's okay if they're not rapid fire answers. Okay, describe Joan in 3 words at the start and then again at the end.
Practical, thoughtful, neat.
Neat, like tidy?
Neat, like tidy.
Okay.
And the same at the end, practical. Well, no, practical and also indulgent, because she opens this cafe, and then tidy. She's tidy. She wants everything tied up.
Okay, so she's consistent.
Yeah, she's consistent.
Was there a moment in Joan's story that surprised you as you wrote it?
There is a scene early on when someone had asked me about this, where she gets married. It's like not a spoiler. She gets married pretty quickly to an older, wealthier man, and she negotiates her prenup. And I think that part, I guess when I think back on it, it surprised me, because she was not the kind of person I thought that would negotiate a prenup. But at that point, she's already been divorced once. She knows that marriages can end, and she's very aware that this is the most that this man is probably ever going to love her. And so she negotiates it. And then I think that part did, like, in retrospect, it surprises me.
Mm-hmm. Why did the other self, I guess, who wasn't surprised, choose to include that?
I think it's an important part in the book for the plot to move forward.
Okay.
So
say no more.
Okay.
What's your own version of a Satisfaction Café besides Godmothers?
I love bookstores are it.
Bookstores are kind of why you started writing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love bookstores. You know what? I don't really have a place. It's like, sometimes like you're on vacation or something, or you're somewhere and you're like walking along and the weather is perfect, and everyone else is just walking on the street and they look happy too. And you're not hot and you're not cold, and you're like, I could just stay here forever and just keep walking. I think that is my Satisfaction Cafe, and I find that, like every month or so, but it's usually like somewhere inconvenient. Like somewhere even like somewhere's like Costco or something. So it's not always picturesque.
That was beautifully described, though. Who is a godmother who has planted the magic seeds? Jennifer's words, not mine. Who's lit the way for you, who has heavily influenced you, who brought you here today?
I'm actually going to give a shout out on this question too. So I found my agent through what's called the slush pile, which is like you write this thing and then you like basically spam a bunch of agents and you're like, please, like, can you take me on? Because I think sometimes writers get like warm intros, or they have professors or connections. I had to go through it this like slush way. And one of the agents, I wrote a manuscript that never got published. No one wanted it. And the only agent who asked to even see it was this woman named Jessica Salke, who is Ann Tyler's agent. And I love Ann Tyler. And she asked to see it. And then afterwards, she was like, no, thank you. She's right, because it's terrible. But she kept in touch, I think, over the years. And when this novel came out, she actually sent it, or when it was like the manual, because you have to get these like things called blurbs on them from authors. She actually helped send it to Ann Tyler, because she said, I think that she'll really like it. And she got like a note from Anne back and sent it back to me. And it was so meaningful, you know, and it was like, it was this woman. And, you know, back when I first started writing and she first said, hey, can I see your manuscript? It meant so much to me. And I was so encouraged, even though at the end she was like, this isn't going to work. Like, her encouragement meant so much to me, and the fact that we've stayed in touch.
Yeah.
Even though she's not she just knowing that, and she's just a professional, right? And just, I love that. I love how just that, knowing that there's people like that out there.
That's cool. This has been great. Let's open it up to you guys. Do you have any questions? Please say yes. And just so you know, this might feel funny, but I'm going to just like sort of surmise your questions because we have a live audience, so they know what you've asked. And you looked up, like, where are they? They're there somewhere. Anyway, go ahead.
I was curious, what was the spark that made you want to start being a writer? Not having gone to school to be a writer, having a full-time job in a whole different industry. You are disciplined enough to wake up in the morning and do your 1,000 words, but where do the stories, where do they start and where do they live in the day? Or do you just put them after your 1,000 words? They just get put away.
So where does Kathy get her inspiration for writing, and what sparked her writing path?
So when I wrote my first book, I had just quit my job. So my husband at the time took this job that was based in Europe, and he was there like half the month. So I had a newborn, and I don't know, I was like definitely, I think, depressed, like definitely had postpartum, and I quit my job, and that was even worse. Like I just didn't know what I was doing. He was gone a lot, and I was just like, I need to do something because I was just not in a good place. And so that's like my honest answer. And then I actually thought I was going to go back to school, because that's kind of a thing to, like, you can just get people off your back. You're like, I'm a student again. But I looked at this programs near me, and they, like the writing programs, and they all required you to have like they all required letters of recommendation. And I didn't have that because I had only ever worked in like the corporate world. And so I had no like writing. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that. And so I was like, literally, I think the only thing I can do if I want to write then is just try to write the book and see what I can do from there. And so that's kind of how that started.
It often baffles me how, in order to start something new, you need something that you've never done before. It's like, wait, this is new.
Yeah, it's like a catch. It's like a catch.
Can I just start here? Why do I have to bring something that I don't have? You know?
Yes.
Just believe in me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. It's a good question. Yes.
Are you now ready with the success to quit your job, or do you think part of your creativity is also to have such constrained time?
Good question.
I think that's a great question. I think definitely the feeling of stress, you know, I hate to say it, right? But I think it's that feeling of stress that I need to is probably part of it. And honestly, I think maybe it's kind of how I grew up. If I didn't work like a regular job, I think I would just feel so much pressure to produce more and faster and feel like I needed to make a living at it, and it would not have like good results for me, I don't think. And so, yeah.
So stress, not pressure, motivates you?
It's both, yeah. And you know what? I like going to, and I don't know, it's funny because like I think writers, rightfully so, a lot of time are like tech sucks and, you know, et cetera. But I love going to the office every day and being with other people. Like I have friends in the office, and you learn something, you know, and it's like, it works a whole different part of your brain. And so yeah, thank you.
Yes.
I know some authors write for themselves, and then they write for craft, and then they write for audience. When do you think of your audience in the process? All the way through, you know?
So when does Kathy think of her audience when writing?
I think that's a great question. This was actually my first book that I wrote with the reader in mind the entire time. Like I was like, I think the first book, like I didn't know it was gonna get published, so you just kind of like poop it out, right? And like I think that you probably have like some like, you know, I don't know, like ego in there too. I'm gonna put this in there and that flourish in there. And this was the first one where I was like, what do I actually like to read myself? And like what makes me put a book down? And you feel like you think that would be so elementary, but you know, it's interesting. I think authors get into writing usually because we love books. but then like sometimes like along the way, like sometimes your ambitions do get mixed up. Like you're like, I want something that'll be good for screen, so I need to have like a really like a hook there, or this is what's trendy in the market and I can do it. And you get away from thinking about like what does the reader want, even though it's very elementary. Yeah.
What's it like to write entirely with an audience in mind? Do you feel like then any of this was written for you?
Yeah, I think it's like, I feel like I wrote it for myself as a reader, because I wanted to write a book that I would read. And I'm a huge rereader. Like, I love to reread. I think partially because I like grew up doing it, because we didn't have a lot of books. But I just love like certain books like where I know I can just open it up and I know everything that's going to come like next. But yeah, I know I'm going to enjoy it.
Do you all feel that way too? Really?
Oh.
Maybe I should try that. I never do that.
What?
I don't know, because I get itchy. I need something new. I get bored.
Oh, okay.
Not bored by books I love, but yeah, I don't know. If I reread, I won't have the same experience. Like, I want to hold on. It's too precious. I'm getting flustered.
Oh,
I don't know how to explain this.
Fascinating. Okay, we can talk more after.
Okay. I actually want to hear everyone else's opinions on this too. Yes.
So with what you were talking about, if there was, two sentences on what you want people left with from this book, like a message, what would that be?
It's a very good question that I have no answer to. I think that every life has compromise in it, and I think that we shouldn't lament that. That as long as you think about, like, I think as long as you recognize that, and we should all recognize, like, every single life has compromise, and so I think I would love for everyone to be at peace with that, or at least bring themselves to a place where they are at peace with their compromise. And I think the second sentence would be to be nice to people. I frequently, and I'm not nice all the time, and I will frequently have bad moments, especially at airports, something like that. And but every time afterwards, I just regret it. Like I was like, A, was it someone filming that? And B, like, just why? Like, it wasn't the right thing to do. And like, and so just to try to be kinder, I think. Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yes.
So you said that your mom never reads your books. Well, my mom doesn't read my stuff, but does your husband? And how is he participate, and is he supportive of what? If that's not too personal.
Oh yeah. No, it's fine. No, my husband reads the books only when they are like printed. So he doesn't read drafts.
Okay. Is that because you don't want him to, or because he doesn't want to?
He's going to kill me because I think he wants to pretend to be a reader, but he's not like a reader, And so,
why do readers marry people who aren't readers? I feel like it's pretty common.
Is it common?
I think so, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, he doesn't read, and so, and I don't want to be like, read mine. So yeah, so he reads it like after, yeah, and my mom doesn't read them at all. Yeah, no, she doesn't read them. No.
Do you have anyone in your circle who is like a cheerleader, or like a friend, or someone who you go to, who you trust, who can read your material, and no matter what they say, like, you respect it?
I'm very sorry. Like, I should, but I don't. Also because I think that I don't have the time to be able to reciprocate it right now. And so actually I just, it's usually like my agent's assistant who is always an excellent reader. But I do need it. So I don't think that should be an answer that's like a good answer. But right now I don't really have that.
Because you want to be able to do something by them as well.
Yeah, generally, like, you'll have like writer like swaps or something
Right.
like that. But sometimes I just can't get back to the other person in time,
Yeah.
and then I don't want to, like, I can't. I'm not going to ask someone to do something I can't do back.
That's nice of you.
Well, it's okay.
Yes.
So I read some of the book, and I enjoyed the story of the woman from Taiwan and with her family back in Taiwan, and I couldn't help but wonder, is that you mentioned also that the main character, Joan, is about your mom's age. So is it sort of an autobiographical story about, for you, is that your family from Taiwan?
Yeah, my parents came from Taiwan. It's not about my mom, partially because she would absolutely, she would disown me. But I'm pretty lazy, to be honest, about research. So I just know that more, right? Because I grew up going back to Taiwan. I will say that my mom and my dad got divorced after like many years of marriage, and it was a starting point for me where, and like they should have gotten divorced, right? It was like not one of those, I don't think it was a great marriage. And one starting point for me was like, what if they had just gotten divorced right away? Like, how would that life have been different? And so, it's not really, it's not my mom, if that makes sense, but I just changed the situation in the beginning. Thank you.
That's interesting. It's like one of those parallel lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you learn to write? Like, novels very different than any technical writers, right? Like writing and all that. So how did you learn to write? Seems like you didn't have a formal training.
So how did she learn to write? Yeah.
I think that anyone can write. And like some people, I'm sure you have friends who like tell you a story and you're like, that's a really good story. And then so some people do. I just think, and I read a lot. I read, I don't think writing is like surgery where like I'm never doing it. I think we're all writing and we're all reading. So I actually think everyone can write. So, but yeah, so I don't have like a better answer. I'm so sorry, but I just think that, I learned what I like in a story, and I try to remember that.
What books have informed your writing?
Ooh, that's a good one. I want to say like Ann Tyler, like John Irving, like those books that I loved growing up. Tom Wolfe. My parents like bought Tom Wolfe a lot for some reason, and they like grabbed my attention.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you have a daily writing practice, or are you simmering on story narrative in your head and then you set into writing that?
When I have a book coming out is probably the only time that I don't write. So like I don't write, and then afterwards I will write for like a year or two, and it'll be like really bad. Like I won't be able to use any of it, but I still have to try because it does go somewhere. I hate it because you're like, why? But usually like one little detail, one form is something that you end up using once you're in that place. Yeah.
Mm. Yes.
So, two things. So, on that track, when you start that process, do you end up going in multiple stories?
I usually, yes, sometimes. Yeah, and sometimes you like have all these ideas and you're like, that would be great if I just jam them all in this book. And then you have to take them out later. So I'll just be free. I'll they have they call it pantser versus plotter. And I'm a pantser, like you do it by the seat of your pants. Versus other people, and there's also plotters, and they plot out the whole book. So I'm a pantser.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention, I've been following you since you started writing a blog.
Oh, yeah.
Long
Yes.
So she's been writing forever. So it's very powerful.
Thank you. Thank you for reading.
Sweet. Yes.
I was wondering what your inspiration was for the Folly House. I felt like in the description of the book, it just felt like, it was all the detail felt so.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you had any inspiration.
Inspiration for the falling house, which I'll let you describe it.
It's like the estate in the house, like the estate in the book that she lives in, and it's in Palo Alto. It's set on like multiple acres. It's a famous architect. It's just one of those houses. I wrote the house because I like to write like fancy houses because I would love to live in like an iconic. I mean, who doesn't want to live in an iconic?
Like luxury?
Yeah, an iconic house. It's like the Godmothers of houses. So I just love to write that, but actually. And I'm going to tell you a quick personal story. My dad was a structural engineer, and so he built our house in Los Altos, which is where I grew up, and that's where I live now. And then in the earthquake in the Loma Prieta, it fell over.
Wow.
And my mom was like, "Your dad can't even build a proper house. Like he built this house that like fell over." And so I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna use it one day. I'm gonna call something Falling House."
Oh
So
my
that's where-
gosh.
yeah. And so that's my story.
That's so funny because you inverted it to be this like perfect house.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So,
That is very comic.
yeah, thank you. Hopefully.
Yeah. Maybe one more question? Yes.
So how do you relate to your kids about writing and reading, differing how you grew up?
Like encouraging them, you mean, to write or whatever.
Not even just like, are they nurture versus nature? Is
your 2 kids?
I'm a very, I think, overwhelmed parent, so I'm pretty lax. Like, I'm kind of like, just do whatever you want. I think that the one thing that I do, which I know they hate, is I'm always like, whenever we go to a bookstore or a library, I'm like, this is a privilege that we're going here because like, it's amazing. Like, libraries are amazing. They're free. Bookstores are amazing. Like, and so whenever we go to one of them, I'm like insufferable about it. and I'm just constantly going on and on. So I think, that's the only thing that I do that encourages them to read. I do have to commend all of you here because you were at a bookstore and all of you actually read. And what's so funny is that in Silicon Valley, people will always be like, my child reads all the time. Like, they're a little genius, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, clearly they're trying to say it's a reflection on them. But I was like, I don't really care about your kid. I care about you. Like, do you as an adult read? Or do you just want your kid to read as like a thing that you think is intellectual, right? But like, yeah, I actually care if the adult reads. Like they'll often be like, I don't read anything. And I'm like, that doesn't make me feel like you're cool. Like, like your kid reads a lot, but you don't? Like, what? So like, I'm like so happy always to just be in a group of like adults that all read. So yes, so thank you. Thank you for coming here.
Well, now I have a closing. Thank you for all of your wonderful questions, and thank you for being here with us and letting me talk to you.
Thank you.
It's been an honor. Though this gathering closes, the frequency remains. What was remembered here will not be forgotten. To every soul, seen and unseen, who joined us, may something dormant be stirred, may something unspoken be anchored, may something guarded be softened. Carry this flame with you, not to fix the world, but to light the path for those still finding the door. We thank the Godmothers for walking with us. Until the next return, we remember who we are, and together we rise. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you so much.